recording. Tap. Welcome back to the video course on Soft Skill 1. As you all know that we started with organizational communication in our last class, and we covered the formal organizational communication that we see around us. In this video, I will cover informal organizational communication. So let us first see the highlights of the last lecture. The topics covered in the last video were new word formation, suffix, organizational communication, the definition, what organizational communication is, what it is all about, the formal communication in the organization that we have. As you know that organizational communication is of two categories if you talk in a broad sense, that is formal communication that we have and the informal communication that we have at workplace. Then we also covered the advantages and the disadvantages of formal communication, like what are the pros of formal communication and what are the cons of formal communication. And then we covered the types of formal communication on the basis of the direction of flow. So on the basis of the channel that is followed for the information sharing, we discussed the formal communication types, that were upward communication, downward communication, horizontal or lateral communication, and the diagonal communication. And we also covered the merits and the demerits of these types. So that's all we did in our last video. In this, we will start with the informal communication or the grapevine. The informal, as you can see, know from the name itself, is something which is not done in a systematic procedure. So the communication here is random. It has no particular channel or no particular mode that has to be followed. Then it is also known as grapevine, because if you've seen a grapevine, it is just spread across. So it just grows irrespective of any method or particular, you can say, decided path. Whatever area it gets and it found, so it expands and it grows to that area, spreading across. This is the same way that we have an informal communication. It is just spread randomly without any sequence, and any person who is present in that area, who is a part of the organization, might get access to the information because of this informal spread. So let us see what definition we have here. It is a form of informal communication in business that develops within an organization. So in the organization, in the workplace, the communication that you have is informal communication. Then the information flows in any order. So you don't have any particular order sequence as I discussed. It is random in nature. That is, it does not follow the horizontal or the vertical communication. So like in formal communication, we had a channel, right? Like from top to bottom in the upward communication, and then bottom up approach in the downward communication. But in informal communication, there is no such pattern that is to be followed. Then the information spreads very rapidly than the other channels of communication. So here the spread of information is very fast, very quick, at a random pace. There might be a one line message that is spread in a very short span of time. Maybe in 5 minutes, everyone sitting in the room is aware of this message. As you can see in the image also, we have that people are whispering to each other and sharing some message, and this lady is passing by and she's also getting to know what they're talking about. Then this lady might then reach out to some 3 or 4 colleagues of her, and she might spread this information, and this way this information is spread across the whole, you can say, department or the whole room, or maybe at times the whole organization, in a very short span of time. Then the purposes of informal communication. So the purposes are broadly two purposes are there of informal communication. First is social interaction. So the main reason why we go for informal communication is that we want the colleagues to be free with each other. We want them to have healthy discussions, to not be very quiet, and to express themselves, and informal communication serves this purpose. Then it also enhances the organizational performance. See, when people feel free to share their ideas, express their thoughts, opinions, and they have a workplace environment that they find like their home or like a family, then this helps also to manage stress, because we are a social animal. Man is a social animal by nature, and he or she feels more comfortable when they can share how they feel, when they can be their natural selves in their work environment. And by promoting the informal communication, we are actually helping them to adjust themselves in a better way in their workplace. And this helps to remove the psychological stress to a great extent. Then we have the informal organizational communication network is formed on the basis of the social relations existing. So what social relations that the employees or the peers have with among each other, depending upon that we can see a number of groups that are formed in the grapevine, and depending upon what common pattern of information spread we see among them, we have classified it into four types. So the first one, as you can see in the left corner, is the single stranded chain. Then next to it we have the gossip chain, then we have the probability chain, and the last we have the cluster chain. So we will look one by one at what type of groups these are. The first type of grapevine communication that we see is a single stranded chain. So as you can see in this definition also, it is the passing of information from the line of persons to the recipient. For example, when the person A tells B, B tells C, and C tells D, till the information reaches most of them. So as you can see in this image also, that here we have the information is starting from the point A. This person A gets to know something, then he shares with B, and and it is followed to C and D, and then this is carried on till the person Y, who is the last person, gets to know this information. So this is a one line transfer of information that is going on, and that is why we call it a single stranded chain, because we have a one line chain that is being formed as a pattern here. Next we have the gossip chain. So the gossip chain is when a person goes around communicating to the information or message he or she has obtained. So here you can see in single stranded we had that the one person who's getting to know something is telling the information to the other. But in gossip chain there is one single person, that is the person A. Suppose he got to know that there is appraisal being going on in the organization, and next week this will be implemented. So this A is the sole individual who is responsible for spreading the information to everyone in the organization. So only he is the one who is sharing the information, and others are only receiving the information. It is not progressed from suppose A has told B, then B is not telling anyone. Instead A is only telling the person C, D, E, F, G. So this is what you call a gossip chain in an informal communication. Then we have the probability chain. So in probability chain, as you can see in the definition first, probability chain is when there are selected listeners and the information passed may be interesting but not essential. So here you can see that a probability chain is then when person A gets to know something and he has told to suppose a person B, but the person B does not find it any interest in the piece of information, and so he does not share it with anyone in the company. And suppose the person A has also told person C, but the person C finds it exciting, so he goes and tells his two friends, person D and E. And in this way, these two get the information, but again, they find it irrelevant and they don't share it or discuss with anyone. Then the information sharing stops. So there is a probability or a chance that this information might spread or this information might not spread, depending upon how the receiver finds it. In gossip, this is confirmed that the information will spread because there is one person who is sharing and telling everyone. But in probability, we are not sure whether every individual in the organization knows the thing or not. Then we have cluster chain. So in cluster chain, the information is passed to selected persons who may further pass the information or message to other selected person. Now how this is done? We have, suppose at the end a person gets to know something, then the person A is telling person B, and person B is telling C and D, then D is telling E and F. So in cluster chain, what we see is that whoever is getting the information is telling one or two or three in the other person, and there is confirmance that it is sure that the information will be spread out to everyone in the group, and every person who is receiving the information is acting as the sender of the information also. So what is now the difference between probability and cluster? In probability, there are chances that information might not spread or it might not spread, but in cluster, everyone in the group gets the details, and everyone else who is getting the detail is telling someone or the other. Now here we saw the types of grapevine communication that we see, that are single strand, gossip chain, probability chain and cluster chain. Now let us also see the advantages of grapevine communication. So the grapevine communication has the following advantages. The first is speed. As you can see that without any regular medium being used, the person or man itself is acting as the carrier of the information, and any piece of information is spread to the room of maybe 20 people or to an organization of 50 people in a very short time. So grapevine helps in a fast spread of information. Next, we have valuable feedback. Also, at times when this information is shared to everyone in the company in an informal manner, then they can give their response, their reviews, or their opinion regarding this particular change or this particular new decision that has been taken. And the top management can also get to know what the employees or the staff thinks about this, and they can act accordingly. So it helps to get a feedback from the people. Then check on the emotions. As I already told, that how people will take the particular decision. Suppose there is some new HR policy being implemented. So if you are using grapevine communication, then suppose person A goes and tells person B, then person B finds, okay, this is a very good thing that is happening. Person B goes and tells two people C and D, and D takes it in a negative way, and C is also happy with the decision. Then if the management wants to check and has a person who can report how people are taking it, then the person can report that, okay, out of three, two are happy with what is being done and one is not unhappy with the decision. So in this way, the management can keep a check on emotions of how their decisions are being taken by the employees or the staff. Then we have moral booster. So it also helps the people to feel a sense of belonging. They feel that they are being valued in the organization. They get to know what is happening in the company, what is happening in the organization. They don't feel that they are alien or they are someone who has no role or no part in whatever is happening in their work environment. So it motivates them also at times when it is positive, that okay, things are going good at their workplace. Then we have the disadvantages of the grapevine communication. Very great disadvantage of the grapevine communication is that it spreads rumors. So there might be a times that person A understands some message in a wrong manner, and he goes out and tells everyone in the gossip chain. Now, one person A has this misunderstanding, but because A told everyone else, maybe some 20 people or 25 people have now got the wrong message. So grapevine also spreads rumors, which at times can be very negative for the workplace. Then we have distorts the messages, because if one person who is receiving the information is telling the other person, suppose in cluster chain, so cluster chain A is telling B, then B is telling C, C is telling D and E, then A might transfer 100% of the message to B. Now B only remembers 90% of it, and then B on reporting tells only maybe 70-65% to person C, and the same person D. Now C and D, they don't have that much retention power, and maybe that they have forgotten half of the message and now they have only 30% or 20% of the message with them, and then they tell the other person. Then by the time it reaches the last person in the chain, the meaning of the message is totally changed. Then we have affects the productivity. So grapevine also affects productivity in a way that people are more interested in this gossips and in the informal talks, and they dedicate less of their time on their desk working. Then lacks control. Once the information is being told to anyone or it is leaked, there is no secrecy there, and this information might also be told to the competitors or anyone who can use it in a negative way and for their individual benefits. So also the organization at times cannot control the spread of this grapevine, and this also acts as a disadvantage. Now let us move to another topic that is very important to know, is barriers in communication. So what are the barriers that we find when we go for organizational communication or for any communication that you have in your environment with the people around you in your social circle, and what are these barriers, how these barriers function, and how you can actually overcome these barriers and have effective communication in your life. So first let us see what are barriers in communication. Barriers in communication can be defined as anything that prevents the effective exchange of information, thoughts and ideas. So as you can see in this definition, we have anything. Anything can be a person, it can be a medium, it can be the wrong selection of channel, it can be any disturbance which is physical in nature. So anything that prevents the effective exchange of information, thoughts and ideas. Because what do you actually share when you communicate? Whenever you are communicating, you are either sharing some thought, or you are either sharing some idea, or you are either exchanging a piece of information. Then barriers may have effect of entirely preventing the communication, or filtering part of it, or giving it an incorrect meaning. So you can see that it is not every time that the barrier of communication is there and the whole message is not delivered. You might find that part message was delivered, part message was not understood. The part message was good, or the part message was correct and it was partly incorrect. So this is how you see in barriers of communication, and you will better understand them when we go through them one by one in detail. There are various types of barriers that we found in our study, like we have physical barriers, language barriers, cross-cultural barriers, semantic barriers, etc. As you can see in this image, we have this person in the red t-shirt. He's standing on the right hand side, and then we have the on the left hand side, and they have this wall or this imaginary wall that is being created, which is the barrier when these two are talking. Now this imaginary wall or barrier might be caused because of any of the reasons, because of some physical noise, or because of the temperature, or because of some language difference that they have, or because of some difference in their cultural background. And how these affect the communication, we will see in our upcoming slides. So the first type of barrier that we see are the physical barriers. These you might have experienced more or less in your daily life. A number of times you might have seen that this barrier is there and it has caused a ineffective communication. Like these are the environmental and natural conditions that act as a barrier in communication in sending message from sender to receiver. So as you know, in the process of communication, there is one sender, there is a receiver, and there is a message, and there is a channel through which the message is passed from the sender to the receiver. So the sender is decoding the message, or sender is encoding the message in a cycle, and similarly the receiver is encoding the message or decoding the message in a cycle. Now what happens that when there is any noise or what you call disturbance because of the environmental or the natural condition, then this acts as a barrier in the whole communication process. And how you can get to know is that when you get the feedback from the person or from the receiver, then the feedback is not what you desired. Example, the interior workplace design. So suppose you're talking to a colleague, a fellow who is sitting in the same office, and you have a glass wall. So this glass wall allows your voice to be heard to the other end, but when you speak only at a louder pace, or when your voice is loud. But suppose you are speaking too soft in maybe someday when you are not feeling that well, then this glass wall will act as a physical barrier to your communication. Also, there can be technical problems. This you might have heard that when you are over a phone call, or when you are having a poor network, and if you are speaking at the other end, the person is not getting the message on the right time, then the person might reply that is delayed, or that person might ask you, what are you saying, I'm not able to hear you, or you are not audible. Now why this is there? This is because of the technical issues or the technological problem, and these are the barriers which are caused because of the medium or the channel that you are using is inappropriate or is not functioning appropriately. Inappropriate can be the selection also, that suppose the message is too long, so it is better that you give it in writing and not over a phone call, because the other person might skip or might miss out some important points, and at times also the channel or the medium is not functioning properly. Also we have noise. Suppose two people are talking and we have a horn that is being play, played by some vehicle that is passing by. So if you have a horn, if you have a loud noise, then you might not be able to hear what the other person is telling you. Now common examples of physical barriers, as you can see, are noise. As I've already told you, that any sound which is louder than the volume of your voice, this will act as a noise. Then we have poor acoustics. Poor acoustics, when you're talking over a phone and you have that the phone mic is not working properly, or the speaker is not appropriate, or maybe when you are delivering a speech and you're talking to the audience and the mic you are using is not functioning properly, and that time you can also feel that sometimes echo is there. So all these are examples of poor acoustics. Then you have defective mechanical devices. As I already told you, if the device is not functioning properly. Then frequent interruptions. So suppose two people are talking and there is someone who enters the room, then the one person might get distracted, or something falls from the table, then you might get distracted. So these are interruptions. Then uncomfortable seating arrangement. So there might be a case where people are sitting in a room, and suppose you have 20 people and you are talking to someone but you're not able to make eye contact to them. So at those times also the information might be partly delivered and the other person might miss out on some of the details. Then we have uncomfortable environment. So suppose it is a very hot day, very humid day, or you are feeling bored, then you might not be able to focus on what is being told to you. Then message overload. This is what is seen very common, that when maybe a 10 sentences you tell someone, instructions at one time. Okay, do this, then go there, then visit him, then come back at this time, then do these things. And suppose you have given 10 instructions, in a single show, and then the person might get confused, okay, so what he has to do first, what he or she has to do second, and how he has to start or how he or she has to end. So it is better that you give messages which are short and which are of a limited activity only, because the person who, or the receiver at the other end might not be able to act accordingly because of message overload. So these are the physical barriers that we discussed. In our next class, we will look at the other barriers. Thank you.